The grand conclave chamber of the Volcari hegemony was not merely a physical space, but a crucible of collective consciousness, a hallowed expanse where the fate of star-spanning civilizations was forged and fractured. Its colossal scale dwarfed even the most massive of star cruisers, a testament to the ancient architects who had envisioned a dwelling vast enough to contain the anxieties and aspirations of an entire galactic arm. Shifting nebulae, simulated with breathtaking fidelity by the chamber's holographic ceiling, cast ethereal, ever-changing light across tiered platforms of obsidian and burnished gold, each seat meticulously carved to accommodate the diverse physiologies of the hegemony's constituent species. The air, enriched with trace elements to suit a dozen different respiratory systems, hummed with a low, resonant frequency, the ambient thrum of countless thought forms, of data streams, of barely contained political turbulence. Today, however, that familiar hum was laced with a sharper, discordant edge, a vibration of profound unease that rippled through the gathered delegates, from the towering, multi-limbed Cathar who anchored the outermost rings, to the delicate, bioluminescent luminospire, whose subtle shifts in epidermal glow reflected their inner turmoil. High Archon the Laris, a being of immense gravitas and ancient lineage, his crystalline carapace radiating a dull, worried crimson, occupied the central dais. His four primary ocular stalks, usually steady and commanding, swiveled with a rare agitation, sweeping across the sea of faces, or rather the myriad sensory organs that comprised the conclave. For cycles, the Volcari hegemony had been an island of stability, a bastion of enlightened self-interest amidst the chaotic currents of the greater galaxy. Their meticulous adherence to the doctrine of measured expansion and the principles of non-interference had safeguarded their prosperity. Yet now, a new, unforeseen variable had manifested, one that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their carefully constructed cosmic order: humanity. "The data is incomplete," Archon the Laris' voice, modulated through the omnipresent translation matrices, resonated with a deep, sonorous quality that usually quelled dissent. Today it merely punctuated the pervasive anxiety. For generations, the sector beyond the nebular veil has been designated as abandoned space, a region of galactic desolation, scoured by ancient cataclysms, devoid of life signatures, a cosmic graveyard. Our probes, our furthest deep-scan pulses, confirmed this desolation. No viable civilization, no energy signatures beyond the residual echoes of long-dead stars, nothing. A murmur like the rustling of countless unseen leaves swept through the chamber. The notion of abandoned space was deeply ingrained in Volcari lore, a cautionary tale, a testament to the impermanence of even the mightiest empires. To discover that this desolate void had somehow harbored a developing species, and moreover, that this species had now responded to a distress signal emanating from one of their own lost exploratory vessels, was an intellectual affront, a violation of established cosmological understanding. Strategos Kale, his multifaceted eyes narrowing to pinpricks of emerald light, extended a chitinous appendage, signaling for attention. "With all due respect, Archon, the distress signal from the Vanguard's resolve was anomalous itself. Decades silent, presumed lost to the void, its transponders suddenly flared with a low power, almost archaic plea. A desperate primal call, unlike any Volcari transmission, suggesting a dire state of emergency, perhaps even manual activation by a dying crew. And that signal," interjected High Counselor Valerius, his vocal sac inflating slightly, "was intercepted and answered not by a hegemony relief fleet, but by an unknown entity, a species designated humanity. Their vessel, the Solarian Dawn, appeared at the precise coordinates of the Vanguard's resolve within cycles of the distress call's reception." Valerius' tone held a subtle accusation, directed not at the Archon, but at the sheer unpredictability of the universe itself. Their emergence was, to put it mildly, instantaneous and deeply unsettling. Xylos, emissary of lore, a being of shimmering, gaseous form contained within a crystalline shell, pulsed with an almost imperceptible shift in light. "Unsettling indeed, High Counselor. The initial sensor readings from the Solarian Dawn were baffling. Energy signatures indicative of advanced propulsion, yet structural integrity readings that suggested an almost rudimentary construction. A paradox. A vessel that should not exist, operating with capabilities that defy our conventional understanding of intersystem travel. And their communication attempts, rudimentary at first, were persistent, unyieldingly so. Persistent to the point of intrusion, growled a delegate from the warrior caste K. Thar, their large, serrated mandibles clicking in irritation. Our automated response protocols, designed for unknown contacts, were met with an almost audacious disregard. They bypassed our warning beacons, ignored our standardized hailing frequencies, and instead projected a series of visual and auditory stimuli. Images of their homeworld, of their biological forms, of their cultural artifacts. An almost childlike display, yet executed with a precision that speaks of significant, albeit alien, intelligence. Archon the Laris brought a heavy, crystal-tipped digit down on the dais, a sharp, metallic ring cutting through the rising tide of murmurs. Childlike, or a deliberate act of non-aggression, a calculated display of transparency designed to disarm or perhaps to confuse? We have no precedent for such an approach. Every known sentient species upon first contact employs a veil of caution, an initial posture of defensive strength. Humanity offered their faces. Valerius shifted in his ornate seat, and their response to our automated defensive perimeter at the perimeter of the vanguard's resolve's last known location, they simply stopped, maintained a precise distance. No aggressive maneuvers, no attempts to penetrate. They merely observed. For 3 full cycles, they remained motionless, a silent sentinel in the void. Suggesting either extreme patience, offered Xylos, his internal light patterns swirling, or a deep understanding of strategic observation. Or perhaps a profound unfamiliarity with our defensive protocols, which led them to a cautious, yet ultimately non-hostile inaction. Or they were analyzing our systems, calibrating their own, preparing for a more insidious approach, countered Strategos Kale, the emerald gleam in his eyes hardening. We have no direct data on their armaments. Their energy output, while seemingly benign, could conceal devastating weapon capabilities. Their structural anomalies, what if it's a form of adaptive camouflage, designed to appear less threatening than they truly are? What if they are simply waiting for an opportune moment to strike, to claim our lost vessel as a prize and glean its technology? A chill rippled through the conclave. The concept of plunder was a primal one, understood across countless species. The Vanguard's resolve was an older, but still technologically sophisticated, deep space exploratory vessel. Its data cores would contain centuries of Volcari astronomical and scientific knowledge. We sent a low-power, passive sensor drone to investigate the Solarian dawn during their period of stasis, Archon the Laris continued, his voice now lower, tinged with a new layer of concern. Its approach was undetected, or at least unacknowledged. The readings it returned were perplexing. Their ship, while static, was internally a hive of activity. Constant, low-level energy fluctuations, biological signatures consistent with their projected forms, but an underlying current of metabolic output that was orders of magnitude higher than expected for a single vessel of its size and crew complement. A power generation anomaly, questioned a Cathar delegate. Or an unquantifiable biological characteristic? Are they inherently more energetic than other carbon-based life forms? Do they consume resources at an accelerated rate? This could speak to an expansionist drive, a need for vast territories to sustain their population. Or it could be a misinterpretation of our sensors, Xylos countered gently. We have limited data on their internal biological processes. Perhaps their cellular activity, their very thought processes, resonate with an energy that our standard biological scanners misinterpret as heightened metabolic output. The more critical observation, I believe, is their unwavering vigil over the Vanguard's resolve. A vigil or a siege? Valerius pressed, his vocal sac pulsing with a deeper blue. We have now attempted to establish direct, formal contact. Our diplomatic protocols, our standard first contact overtures have been initiated. We await their response. The silence, Archon, is deafening. The holographic nebula above swirled, deepening to a turbulent violet. The weight of the unknown pressed down upon them all. This wasn't just about a lost ship or a new species. It was about the integrity of their galactic understanding, the fragility of their long-held peace. Humanity, a sudden spark in the deep, abandoned void, represented an unsettling variable, a chaotic element introduced into their meticulously ordered existence. And the very name they gave themselves, humanity, seemed to imply a collective identity, a unified front that most multi-species hegemonies found difficult to maintain even after millennia of shared history. What could unite such a diverse and energetic species? What motivated them? And why, after centuries of silence from the abandoned space, had they chosen this moment to answer a dying whisper from the void? The questions hung in the air, heavy and unanswerable, casting a long, uncertain shadow over the grand conclave. The silence that followed Valerius' pronouncement stretched taut, a palpable presence in the vast chamber, broken only by the rhythmic, subtle hum of the life support systems and the distant, almost imperceptible whisper of the simulated cosmos. Each delegate, in their unique way, absorbed the chilling implications. The Volcari had encountered aggressive species, expansionist empires, and enigmatic, isolationist civilizations throughout their history. They possessed protocols, strategies, and even philosophical frameworks for dealing with virtually every known permutation of sentient life. But humanity was an aberration. Archon the Laris closed his primary ocular stalks for a moment, a gesture of profound contemplation. His crystalline carapace shimmered, reflecting the inner turmoil of a leader grappling with an existential threat. The Volcari mind, accustomed to order, patterns, and quantifiable data, struggled to categorize this new entity. They projected their own fears and assumptions onto humanity, aggression, greed, technological superiority cloaked in deception. Yet the available data contradicted these projections as often as it supported them. The Solarian dawn remained an enigma, a puzzle of conflicting signals and bewildering intent. "We must consider every possibility," the Laris finally stated, his voice now calmer but edged with an undeniable weariness. "Even the most unsettling. The distress signal from the Vanguard's resolve was indeed archaic, but what if it was not a plea for rescue but a warning? A desperate, final communication from a crew that had encountered this humanity and found them to be a threat of an unknown magnitude." Stratego's Kale's mandibles clicked, a sound of agreement. "A plausible hypothesis, Archon. Their presence at the exact location, their rapid response, suggests a pre-existing awareness, perhaps even a monitoring of our lost vessel. What if they engineered the distress call, a trap to lure a Volcari vessel into their territory?" Xylos, however, pulsed with a gentle, questioning light. "But to what end, Strategos? The Solarian Dawn is a single vessel. It shows no signs of auxiliary craft, no concealed armaments that our deepest scans could detect. To lure and then observe. This seems an overly complex deception for such a limited payoff." "Perhaps they are testing us," Valerius suggested, his blue hues deepening. "Assessing our technological capabilities, our diplomatic resolve. What better way to understand an interstellar power than to gauge its response to a lost vessel and an unknown entity appearing at its side?" The Cathar delegate, General Thrak, shifted, the heavy plates of his armor grating faintly. "And if they are testing us, High Counselor, how do we respond? With further diplomatic overtures that appear as weakness? Or with a show of force, a clear demonstration of hegemony might that dissuades any aggressive intent?" "A show of force carries immense risk," Xylos countered. "If they are indeed as powerful as their apparent presence in abandoned space suggests, and yet are attempting a peaceful overture, aggression from our side could ignite a conflict that we are ill-prepared to wage against a species whose true capabilities remain utterly concealed." The Archon nodded slowly. "Emissary Xylos speaks with wisdom. Our first priority remains the recovery of the Vanguard's resolve and its crew if they still survive. Our second, the comprehensive understanding of this humanity. We have initiated standard first contact protocols. Our diplomatic envoy, Counselor Veles, is now on approach to the Solarian Dawn in a dedicated, unarmed diplomatic cruiser. His instructions are explicit. Gather information, transmit all data, and above all, avoid provocation." A flicker of unease went through the Cathar ranks. The Volcari had long favored cautious, drawn-out diplomacy, a stark contrast to their natural inclination towards decisive action. But even they understood the gravity of the unknown. Days bled into cycles, then into a full standard week. The conclave remained in continuous session, its members cycling through periods of stasis and intense debate, their collective focus fixed on the silent vigil in the deep, abandoned sector. The diplomatic cruiser carrying Counselor Veles approached the Solarian Dawn with agonizing slowness, each microunit of distance meticulously monitored by the hegemony's vast sensor network. The Solarian Dawn remained motionless, a dark, angular silhouette against the distant, shifting cosmic dust, a silent, inscrutable entity. Then a transmission. It was not from Veles, nor from his diplomatic cruiser. It originated directly from the Solarian Dawn. The Archon's primary ocular stalks snapped open, focusing on the central display, where the vessel's holographic representation pulsed with a soft, inviting light. They are responding, Valerius breathed, a mixture of apprehension and relief in his tone. The transmission was pure, unmodulated sound and visual. No complex encryption, no elaborate handshake protocols. It was a direct feed, surprisingly clear. The image resolved to show a chamber within the Solarian dawn, clean and utilitarian, devoid of the intricate embellishments characteristic of Volcari design. And then the beings themselves. 4 of them. Their forms were bipedal, relatively small compared to many hegemony species, with smooth, almost featureless epidermal surfaces in varied hues. They lacked the intricate sensory organs, the luminous displays, the defensive carapaces or fluidic movements of the Volcari and their allies. Their heads were round, topped with fibrous growths in an astonishing array of colors, and their faces, while symmetrical, seemed remarkably simple. 2 forward-facing ocular apertures, a small, horizontal slit below, and a fleshy protrusion beneath that. They possessed only 2 primary limbs, terminating in multi-digit appendages. They were, in a word, fragile. One, so utterly devoid of natural defenses, of any obvious physical prowess, that a wave of bewilderment, almost pity, swept through the conclave. One of them, slightly taller, with particularly dense fibrous growth on its head, stepped forward. Its ocular apertures, which the Volcari learned were called eyes, focused directly into the unseen camera. Its mouth slit, lips parted, and it began to vocalize. The translation matrices struggled, then slowly, haltingly began to process the alien sounds. "Greetings," the human voice translated, clear and steady, devoid of inflection that Volcari emotional receptors could detect. "This is Captain Eva Rostova, commanding the United Earth ship Solarian Dawn. We intercepted your distress signal from the vessel designated Vanguard's Resolve. Our mission is one of aid and potential rescue." 2. A collective gasp, a rustle of disbelief swept the conclave. Aid, rescue, not aggression, not a demand, not a veiled threat. Simple, unadorned assistance. The implications were staggering. Stratego's Kale scoffed, a low rumble from his segmented throat. "Aid, they declare a mission of aid. This is a deception. They assume we are primitives, easily swayed by such transparent overtures." "But their presence at the Vanguard's Resolve was in response to its distress signal," Xylos interjected, a new, almost eager light pulsing within his crystalline form. "Their claim aligns with the empirical data. They are exactly where a rescue vessel should be." "And their demeanor," Archon the Laris observed, his ocular stalks fixed on the screen. "It is calm, profoundly so. There is no visible fear, no aggression in their posture. Their biological forms betray no heightened stress responses, no elevated heat signatures. A remarkable level of self-control if it is indeed a deception." Captain Rostova continued, her words slow, deliberate, as if carefully chosen for a species unfamiliar with their syntax. "We detected multiple life signatures aboard the Vanguard's Resolve approximately 157 standard cycles ago. These signatures were intermittent, then consistent, then rapidly degraded. We believe your crew, or remnants thereof, are experiencing critical systems failure, compounded by radiation exposure from the rogue stellar fragment impacting your vessel's shield array." The conclave erupted. This was information they had no right to possess. Their own deep scan data had only hinted at the stellar fragment. How could this newly emerged species, with their seemingly simple vessel, have acquired such precise, detailed diagnostic information? 2. Valerius' vocal sac flared. "They possess intelligence capabilities that far exceed our initial estimations. They have analyzed our damaged vessel in a manner that surpasses our own hegemony long-range diagnostics. This aid is predicated on a profound and alarming level of surveillance." "Or a profound level of technological advancement," Xylos countered, his light pulsing brighter. "Their analytical capabilities are undeniably superior, but they have chosen to reveal this rather than exploit it. This speaks to an ethical framework that values transparency, perhaps even a desire to demonstrate competence without resorting to hostility." Captain Rostova paused, then gestured with one of her multi-digit appendages towards the side of the screen. Another human appeared, seated before a console, its eyes also fixed on the camera. This one wore a more intricate garment, adorned with subtle symbols. "This is Commander Aris Thorne, our Chief of Science and Logistics," Rostova introduced. "He will now transmit a preliminary diagnostics report on the Vanguard's Resolve." Suddenly, the central holographic display in the conclave chamber was flooded with a cascade of data. Complex schematics of the Vanguard's resolve, projected W. With an impossible clarity, detailed every breach, every failing system, every energy bleed. Predicted atmospheric integrity, structural fatigue points, and even individual crew life support readings, all projected with a precision that was chillingly accurate. It was as if the Solarian Dawn had physically boarded their vessel, performed a full internal scan, and then compiled a report, all while maintaining its silent, respectful distance. Their diagnostic capabilities are terrifyingly efficient, Cale admitted, his voice a low hiss. They have stripped our vessel bare with their sensors alone. No species possesses such deep scan penetration without advanced, often invasive, active scanning arrays. And yet, Archon the Laris noted, his voice strained with a mixture of fear and dawning comprehension. They revealed the damage to our shield array, information critical to understanding the Vanguard's Resolve's predicament. This suggests their intent is not to exploit, but to inform, to aid. The Cathar General Thrak, usually stoic, shifted uncomfortably. Their data indicates our primary shield generator is operating at a mere 12% capacity, suffering from a cascade failure caused by a microfracture in the plasma conduit. This aligns precisely with our own limited internal telemetry, which we only received through our automated drones hours ago. The truth began to settle like a heavy mantle over the conclave. These humans, these fragile, simple-looking beings, were not technologically primitive. They were, in some critical respects, vastly superior. Their calm demeanor was not a mask for fear or deception, but a genuine reflection of their capabilities. Captain Rostova's voice returned, resonating with a quiet authority that transcended the translation. Our analysis indicates that without immediate intervention, the Vanguard's Resolve will suffer catastrophic atmospheric depressurization within the next 72 standard hours. Rescue efforts, if feasible, must be initiated within 36 hours to ensure crew survivability against lethal radiation levels. Valerius, usually so concerned with political maneuvering, found himself speechless. This was not a challenge, nor a demand for tribute. It was a detached, logical assessment delivered with an almost clinical precision, yet carrying the undeniable weight of an impending tragedy. "What is their price?" demanded a Luminaspire delegate, their bioluminescence flickering with heightened anxiety. "Such advanced intelligence, such precise data, it always comes at a cost." Captain Rostova's ocular apertures seemed to shift, as if processing the underlying question. "Our price, if you wish to frame it so, is the safe recovery of your crew. We extend aid because it is within our capability to do so. Our ethics dictate that when a sentient life form is in peril, and we possess the means to render assistance, we shall. We ask only for permission to approach, to stabilize the vessel, and to extract your personnel." The Grand Conclave chamber was plunged into a silence far deeper than before, a silence born not of confusion or fear, but of profound, bewildered awe. The implications of her statement rippled through the gathered delegates. Aid without expectation of reward, intervention based solely on an ethical imperative. This was an alien concept, one that challenged the very foundations of interspecies relations, which were almost universally built on frameworks of reciprocity, strategic advantage, or mutually assured benefit. Archon the Laris, his crystalline carapace now glowing with an incandescent white, a manifestation of intense mental processing, leaned forward. His primary ocular stalks fixed on the image of Captain Rostova, seeking any flicker of deceit, any subtle tell that would expose her words as a fabrication. There was none, only that same unwavering calm, that quiet authority. "Their ethics dictate it," Xylos whispered, his light swirling in a mesmerizing pattern. "A species whose core philosophy compels them to render assistance to others, even unknowns, simply because they can. This is unprecedented." Strategos Kale, his earlier skepticism now tempered by a grudging respect, clicked his mandibles. "They are offering to risk their vessel, their lives, for our lost crew. And for what? For nothing. It is illogical from a strategic standpoint." "Perhaps," Valerius mused, his vocal sac now a shade of pale violet, "their logic operates on a plane we have yet to comprehend. What if the cost is not material but existential? What if by offering aid they are establishing a new paradigm, challenging our preconceptions of interspecies interaction?" The Archon raised a digit, signaling for absolute silence. His voice, when it came, was firm, decisive. We shall accept their offer. Commander Aris Thorne's diagnostic report is irrefutable. We are out of options. Prepare the diplomatic response. Grant the Solarian Dawn full clearance to Aproa. The Vanguard's resolve. Transmit all our available internal schematics and crew manifests to aid their rescue efforts. Inform Counselor Veles to maintain a safe, observational distance, but to extend every courtesy and assistance possible. The decision, once made, brought a wave of relief, yet also a tremor of anxiety. They were placing the fate of a Volcari vessel and its crew into the hands of an unknown species, a decision born of desperation, but also of a dawning, reluctant hope. The Solarian Dawn moved with a quiet grace that belied its earlier perceived crudeness. Its angular form, initially dismissed as simplistic, now conveyed a sense of robust functionality, a vessel built for purpose, not for aesthetic display. It approached the crippled Vanguard's resolve with a calculated slowness, its external lights bathing the damaged Volcari vessel in a gentle, probing luminescence. From the conclave, the live feed was projected with agonizing clarity, every detail magnified, every movement scrutinized. Captain Rostova's voice, relayed through a shared frequency, provided a calm, continuous stream of updates. Entering primary approach vector, stabilizing grav field fluctuations around damaged section, initiating atmospheric breach seal sequence. The Volcari watched in stunned silence as the Solarian Dawn extended what appeared to be flexible, shimmering tendrils from its hull. These were not solid docking clamps or articulated arms, but ribbons of pure energy, almost liquid light, that subtly enveloped the breached sections of the Vanguard's resolve. The energy pulsed, not with destructive force, but with a stabilizing hum. Atmospheric pressure readings on the Volcari vessel, which had been in precipitous decline, began to stabilize. 2. Impossible, Strategos Kale breathed, his voice barely audible. They are projecting a localized atmospheric containment field, a technology that defies our current understanding of energy manipulation. It would require immense power, precisely calibrated to prevent further depressurization. And they are doing it with such ease, Xylos added, a distinct shimmer of wonder in his light. No visible effort, no strained energy output. Their vessel appears entirely unburdened. Then came the true revelation. From a concealed bay on the Solarian Dawn's underside, a series of smaller craft emerged. These were sleek, silent, and moved with a fluidity that was breathtaking. They were not combat vehicles, nor traditional shuttles, but rather specialized rescue pods, equipped with their own miniature containment fields. They docked with the Vanguard's resolve through previously impassable breaches, their entry points forming an immediate, hermetic seal. Their rescue protocols are unparalleled, Archon the Laris acknowledged, a new, almost reverent tone entering his voice. They are moving with the efficiency of a species intimately familiar with deep space disaster relief. This is not their first time. This is not an experiment for them. The interior feed from the Vanguard's resolve, now stabilized, showed human figures, clad in form-fitting suits of astonishing flexibility and resilience, moving through the damaged corridors. They were small, agile, their movements precise and economical. They carried no visible weapons, only compact, multifunctional tools. They navigated the ruined sections with an uncanny spatial awareness, bypassing obstacles, shoring up unstable bulkheads with temporary, self-sealing patches that solidified on contact. They are repairing our vessel as they extract the crew, Valerius observed, a note of profound astonishment in his voice. Not merely salvaging, but actively mitigating further damage, stabilizing the very structure. The most profound revelation, however, came when the humans reached the isolated, crippled sections where Volcari life signatures had been detected. The remaining Volcari crew, desiccated by radiation, weak from oxygen deprivation, lay dormant in rudimentary stasis fields, their vital signs flickering. The human rescuers approached them with a delicate touch, their hands moving with practiced gentleness. They administered biological stabilizers, connected specialized medical equipment, and then, with an almost tender care, encased each Volcari in a personal containment unit that shimmered with healing light. They possess advanced biomedical technology, Xylos marveled, his internal patterns vibrating with excitement. Their restorative agents are far beyond our current capabilities. The crew members who were near death, their life signs are already stabilizing, even improving. Captain Rostova's voice cut through the awestruck silence. Extraction complete. All viable Volcari personnel accounted for and secured within medical isolation bays aboard the Solarian Dawn. Our medical teams are initiating full restorative protocols. The Vanguard's resolve is now partially stabilized. We have contained the primary radiation, leak and sealed the most critical atmospheric breaches. Further repairs will require more extensive resources. The conclave was silent, utterly and completely silent for a long moment. No political posturing, no strategic calculations, no ancient fears. Only the profound weight of what they had witnessed. A species from the abandoned space, a people they had dismissed as primitive, feared as aggressive, had come not to conquer, not to exploit, but to save. And they had done so with a calm, ethical, logical power that dwarfed any preconceived notions. Archon the Laris finally spoke, his voice hoarse with emotion that transcended the translation matrices. They extended aid because it was within their capability. Their ethics dictate it. This is a profound truth. Humanity, they are not what we assumed. Strategos Kale, his emerald eyes reflecting the deep space outside, bowed his heavy head. We underestimated them, profoundly. Their perceived fragility concealed a resilience, an ingenuity, and a moral strength that we failed to comprehend. Their calm was not a deception, but a reflection of their absolute confidence in their own capabilities and principles. Valerius, his vocal sac now a gentle, reassuring silver, looked out at the assembled delegates. We feared what they would take. They offered what they could give. They found us abandoned, lost in the deep, and they answered. The implications of this first contact rippled outward, beyond the immediate rescue, beyond the conclave chamber. Humanity, in their simple act of profound altruism, had not merely saved a lost Volcari crew. They had challenged the very foundations of Volcari understanding, of interspecies relations, of galactic ethics. They had rewritten the rules of first contact, not through force or political maneuvering, but through the quiet, undeniable power of their compassion and competence. The universe, which had seemed so well charted, so predictable in its patterns of power and self-interest, had suddenly revealed a new, luminous facet, a beacon of unexpected hope in the deep, silent void. The Grand Conclave, once a chamber of fear and suspicion, now hummed with a different energy, the resonance of revelation, of humility, and of a burgeoning, fragile hope for a new galactic era. The transfer of the recovering Volcari crew from the Solarian Dawn to a waiting hegemony medical frigate was a ceremony devoid of grand pronouncements, yet imbued with a silent, profound weight. Archon the Laris, accompanied by Strategos Kale and emissary Xylos, boarded the human vessel for the first time, their every sensory organ attuned to the subtle vibrations and atmospheric nuances of the alien environment. The Solarian Dawn's interior was a study in functional elegance. Smooth, resilient surfaces, soft, indirect lighting that adjusted to Volcari optical frequencies, and a gentle, recycled air that carried no unfamiliar biological traces. It was clean, efficient, and surprisingly comfortable. Captain Rostova and Commander Thorne met them at the primary airlock, their expressions a testament to the quiet professionalism that had come to define humanity in the Volcari mind. There were no elaborate bows, no intricate diplomatic rituals, simply a steady, respectful exchange of gazes. Archon the Laris, Captain Rostova's voice was calm. Your crew is stable. Their recovery is proceeding well, though full recuperation will require time and specialized care. Our medical teams have provided comprehensive diagnostic reports and recommended treatment protocols. We are indebted, Captain Rostova, the Laris responded, the phrase feeling inadequate to convey the depth of their gratitude. Your actions transcend any definition of alliance or even strategic partnership. They are an act of profound compassion. Rostova inclined her head slightly. Compassion is an intrinsic part of our species, Archon. We understand suffering and we strive to alleviate it when possible. It is our way. Strategos Kale, his imposing form usually radiating an aura of unwavering strength, found himself momentarily disarmed by the human's simple, unadorned statement. To risk so much for complete strangers, our records indicate no prior contact between our species. Your motives remain an enigma to our conventional frameworks. Commander Thorne, usually silent, spoke then, his voice a quiet counterpoint to Rostova's. Our motives are rooted in our shared sentience, strategos, in our recognition of a fundamental universal truth, that advanced intelligence carries a responsibility. To abandon those in peril when one possesses the capacity to assist is to diminish one's own civilization. Xylos, his luminous form pulsing with an almost frantic brilliance, shimmered closer to Thorn. A responsibility, not a right, not a benefit, but a duty. This philosophy, it is profound. It challenges the very concept of galactic isolation, of self-preservation above all else. We are a species that has known great hardship, Captain Rostova continued, her eyes reflecting a deep, ancient wisdom. We have faced our own abandonments, our own deep spaces of despair. From those experiences, we learned the value of extending a hand, even when that hand might be misunderstood or even rejected. We learned that true strength lies not in isolation, but in the willingness to connect, to empathize, to aid. The Archon absorbed her words, processing them through millennia of Volcari history, of cycles of conflict and cautious alliances. Humanity had indeed known hardship. Their historical data, rudimentary as it was, spoke of a species that had survived ecological collapse, global conflicts, and the perilous journey from a single planet to the vastness of interstellar space. Their journey had not been smooth, but scarred with trials. And from those scars, a unique form of wisdom had emerged. 5. The formal transfer of the Volcari crew was completed, the medical frigate departing with a solemn farewell. But the Archon, the Strategos, and the emissary remained, invited by Captain Rostova to a private chamber within the Solarian dawn for a more in-depth discussion. The room was sparse, yet comfortable, with a large, holographic projector dominating the center. Archon, Commander Thorn began, activating the projector, which flared to life, displaying a complex, multi-layered star map. While our immediate mission of rescue is complete, there is a larger context to our presence in this sector, and indeed to the distress signal your vessel emitted. The map zoomed in, focusing on the region designated by the Volcari as abandoned space. But on the human projection, it was far from empty. Faint, almost imperceptible energy signatures flickered across what the Volcari had long considered a cosmic void. This sector, Thorn explained, his voice low and serious, has long been a source of anomalous readings for us. Extremely faint, highly degraded signals unlike any natural stellar phenomena. We initially dismissed them as background radiation, cosmic echoes, but our more sensitive long-range arrays began to discern a pattern. A rhythmic, almost intelligent pulse emanating from deep within this abandoned space. A signal, Xylos pulsed, his light growing more intense. But our deepest scans, our most sensitive instruments, detected nothing but primordial energy fluctuations, no coherent emissions. Our technology is different, Rostova explained. We utilize quantum entanglement relays for long-range observation, allowing us to detect incredibly faint, coherent patterns that might otherwise be lost in cosmic noise. What we detected was a continuous, almost mournful hum. A song, if you will, broadcast on frequencies we had initially deemed unusable. The star map shifted, isolating a singular point, deep within the designated abandoned space. It was a region of almost total cosmic blackness, devoid even of nascent star formation. This is the source, Thorn indicated. And it is not a stellar object. It is a structure of immense proportions, a megastructure unlike anything we have ever encountered. The holographic projection resolved, slowly unveiling an impossible construct. It was a vast, geometric edifice stretching for light years, a lattice of interwoven dark matter and exotic energy conduits, forming a colossal, symmetrical pattern that seemed to hum with silent power. It was not a natural formation. It was built. 6. A collective gasp escaped the Volcari. Archon the Laris, crystalline carapace flared with disbelief, Strategos Kale's mandibles hung slack, and Xylos pulsed with a blinding, almost overwhelming light. The scale alone was incomprehensible. It dwarfed any known construct, any planetary defense grid, any Dyson sphere or star shroud in their collective knowledge. This is a fabrication, Strategos Kale finally managed to articulate, his voice strained. No civilization, no matter how advanced, could construct such a thing. And yet it exists, Captain Rostova countered, her gaze unwavering. Our long-range observations, spanning centuries, have confirmed its stability, its integrity. It is ancient, impossibly ancient. Its energy signature suggests it is not merely a dormant relic, but a functioning entity, albeit one operating on a timescale far beyond our comprehension. And its purpose? The Laris questioned, his voice a mere whisper. Unknown, Thorn admitted. But what we do know is that the distress signal from your vanguard's resolve was not merely an archaic plea for help. It was a resonant frequency. It matched a specific energy pattern within this megastructure. The map zoomed closer to the Vanguard's Resolve's last known position, then overlaid it with the faint, rhythmic pulses emanating from the megastructure. The correlation was undeniable. The Volcari vessel, in its desperate, dying broadcast, had inadvertently struck a chord, a harmonic frequency, with the vast, ancient construct. Your distress signal, it acted as a key, Rostova elaborated. It awakened something within the megastructure, triggering a localized, powerful surge of energy that we detected, and that, in turn, allowed us to pinpoint its exact location. The Vanguard's Resolve was not simply abandoned in deep space. It was abandoned near something of unimaginable power, and its cries for help inadvertently resonated with it. Xylos, trembling slightly within his crystalline shell, articulated a concept that had long been relegated to theoretical physics and ancient mythology. A cosmic resonator, a device of such magnitude that a simple, desperate transmission could awaken its dormant functions. And this is what drew you to this sector. Not just the distress signal, but its connection to this impossibility. Precisely, Thorne confirmed. Our initial mission was to investigate the anomalous signals. Your distress call, coinciding with a sudden surge from the megastructure, gave us a definitive point of entry, a specific anomaly to investigate. We came for the distress, yes, but we also came for the truth of what lay beneath the abandoned space. Archon the Laris stared at the colossal, silent megastructure on the holographic display, then back at the calm, unwavering faces of Captain Rostova and Commander Thorne. Humanity, a species they had almost dismissed, had almost attacked, had almost entirely misunderstood. They had perceived fragility where there was resilience, ignorance where there was profound knowledge, self-interest where there was selfless compassion. And now, they had revealed a cosmic mystery that dwarfed all their previous understanding of the galaxy. This megastructure, the Laris finally spoke, his voice imbued with a newfound gravity. What do you believe it is? What is its purpose? Captain Rostova met his gaze. We believe it is a communication device, Archon, an ancient interstellar beacon, and your Vanguard's Resolve in its moment of despair inadvertently sent a message. We do not yet know what it means, but we believe it is a call. And now, thanks to your crew and our shared curiosity, we have found it. A new frontier indeed, one that extends beyond mere stars into the heart of galactic history itself. 8. The words hung in the air, echoing with the weight of cosmic revelation. Humanity had not only saved their crew, but they had also, in their relentless pursuit of knowledge and their profound ethical drive, uncovered a secret that would reshape the Volcari's understanding of the universe. The abandoned space was no longer empty. It was filled with the promise of an unimaginable past and an uncertain yet awe-inspiring future. And at the threshold of this new era stood humanity, not as conquerors, but as guides, their gentle hands reaching out into the profound unknown, inviting the Volcari to join them in answering the ancient, silent call from beyond. The Grand Conclave, once a symbol of Volcari solitude, now found itself at the precipice of a boundless, shared destiny. The revelation of the megastructure sent a cascade of shockwaves through the Volcari hegemony, far beyond the confines of the Grand Conclave chamber. The very concept of abandoned space had been shattered, replaced by an awareness of an unimaginably ancient, colossal artifact humming with dormant power. Debates raged across planetary networks, philosophies were reevaluated, and historical archives were scoured for any faint echo, any forgotten myth that might hint at such a profound construction. The human explanation, delivered with their characteristic calm and rigorous data, was irrefutable. The Solarian dawn had not just saved Volcari lives, it had unveiled a new cosmic truth. Archon the Laris, once burdened by the weight of the unknown, now felt a different kind of pressure, the immense responsibility of navigating this new reality. The initial fear of humanity had evaporated, replaced by a profound respect, even a nascent admiration. They had shown not only advanced technology, but also a depth of ethical commitment that transcended mere pragmatism. A new session of the Grand Conclave was convened, not in the shadow of fear, but under the light of revelation. Captain Rostova and Commander Thorne, now recognized as emissaries of the highest order, stood on a specially constructed platform adjacent to the Archon's dais, their human forms a stark, yet increasingly respected, contrast to the myriad alien physiologies around them. The data is conclusive, Xylos, his form glowing with a vibrant, almost joyous spectrum, addressed the conclave. Humanity's analysis of the megastructure, which they have provisionally designated the silent network, indicates an operational capacity that defies our understanding of energy efficiency. It is not merely a passive object, it is a system, and it is responding, however subtly, to our presence. Strategos Kale, his mandibles now see, licking with intellectual curiosity rather than suspicion, chimed in. Their quantum entanglement relays are a paradigm shift. To detect and resolve such incredibly faint, long-duration signals from an object of such antiquity suggests a mastery of observational physics that places them far beyond our current capabilities. We have learned more about the abandoned space from their brief presence than in millennia of our own passive monitoring. Valerius, his vocal sac now a stable, dignified golden hue, summarized the shift in political sentiment. The initial apprehension regarding humanity's motives has been replaced by a desire for alliance, for shared knowledge. Their act of selfless rescue, coupled with this unprecedented revelation, has forged a bond unlike any in our history. The Volcari hegemony stands ready to formalize a partnership with the United Earth Confederacy. Captain Rostova stepped forward, her gaze sweeping across the diverse faces of the conclave. The United Earth Confederacy welcomes this proposed alliance, Archon the Laris. Our mission has always been one of peaceful exploration and understanding. We believe that the discovery of the silent network represents a pivotal moment not just for our species, but for all sentient life in this galactic arm. Commander Thorne activated the holographic projector once more. The vast, intricate lattice of the megastructure shimmered into being, now overlaid with complex analyses from both human and integrated Volcari sensors. Faint energy conduits, previously undetected, now pulsed with a nascent, ethereal light. We have spent the last cycles integrating your telemetry with our own, Thorne explained. And in doing so, we have discovered something remarkable. The distress signal from the Vanguard's resolve, while a key, was not the only factor in awakening portions of the network. There was an additional, subtle energy signature, a faint background hum emanating from the surviving Volcari crew members themselves, particularly those who were in critical condition. Archon the Laris' primary ocular stalks widened. Our biological emanations, our life force. Precisely, Rostova confirmed. It appears the silent network responds not only to specific energetic frequencies, but also in some profound and as yet undeciphered manner to the presence of sentient life in peril. It's as if the distress itself resonated with the network, a universal cry for help. A cry that only you could hear and respond to, Xylos mused, his light dimming slightly in thoughtful wonder. A profound connection between the ancient builders of this network and the very essence of sentient existence. This raises an even greater question, Strategos Kale stated. Who built it, and why? What was their intention? We believe, Captain Rostova answered, her voice imbued with a quiet gravity, that the silent network is precisely that, a network. A vast, interconnected web of communication and perhaps even data storage left by a progenitor civilization of unimaginable antiquity and power. A legacy, perhaps, intended for those who would eventually reach a certain level of ethical and technological advancement. A test, Valerius speculated, to see which species would respond to a cry for help rather than seek personal gain. Thorne nodded. A possibility, or perhaps a universal safeguard, a means to transmit crucial information across vast cosmic distances in times of ultimate need. The holographic map of the megastructure shifted again, now highlighting a singular central nexus, pulsating with a faint, steady light. This central core, Thorne continued, is where the most complex and robust energy signature originates. We believe it contains the heart of the network, and we believe now that sufficient keys have been provided your distress call and the presence of sentient life in extreme peril that it is beginning to activate fully. As he spoke, a new, profound hum filled the conclave chamber, resonating not through the air, but through the very crystalline structures of the Volcari and the nervous systems of the humans. It was a sound beyond hearing, a vibration that resonated with the deep, primal layers of their being. The holographic projection of the silent network flared, its intricate lattice work now glowing with a blinding, yet utterly benign light. And then from the central nexus, a new transmission emanated. It was not a language, not a visual image, but a wave of pure, coherent information, flooding the minds of every sentient being in the chamber. It was a sensation of immense age, of boundless knowledge, of profound sorrow, and of an enduring hope. It was a message that transcended words, a tapestry of data woven from light and thought itself. The message contained echoes of civilizations that had risen and fallen across countless galaxies. It spoke of a universal threat, a cosmic phenomenon of unimaginable destructive power, a dev, whirr of stars and worlds that periodically swept through the cosmos. It was a warning, ancient and dire, passed down through forgotten eons. And it was a plea, a call for unity, for knowledge sharing, for collective defense against an extinction-level event that lay dormant, but ever-present in the deep void beyond their known galaxy. 8. The message also contained blueprints, not for weapons but for structures, for interspecies communication protocols, for advanced energy generation techniques, for methods of environmental terraforming, for interstellar travel far beyond any current known technology. It was a galactic archive, a legacy of a progenitor race, left for those who were wise enough to find it, ethical enough to answer a desperate plea, and united enough to comprehend its true purpose. Archon the Laris staggered slightly, his crystalline carapace flashing through a kaleidoscope of colors: fear, awe, understanding, and finally, a resolute calm. The magnitude of the revelation threatened to overwhelm, yet it also brought a profound clarity. "They foresaw it," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "They built this cosmic warning system, and they waited for us, for those who would listen, for those who would answer." Strategos Kale, his posture rigid, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the now dazzling display of the silent network, understood the implications. A larger war, a cosmic struggle against an enemy beyond our imagining. And humanity, they were the first to truly hear the call. Captain Rostova stepped forward, her hand gently touching the Archon's arm. Her face, usually so composed, now held a deep, somber empathy. The universe is far vaster and far more dangerous than any of us truly understood. But it is also filled with wonders and with the echoes of those who came before, who believed in the enduring power of life and in the necessity of unity. Conclave, once filled with suspicion and debate, was now bound by a common, overwhelming truth. The abandoned space had revealed its secret, and with it, a challenge that dwarfed all previous conflicts. Humanity, from their humble origins on a single world, had answered a distress signal from deep space, not for conquest, but for compassion. And in doing so, they had not only saved a lost crew, but had awakened an ancient network, revealing a cosmic warning and the path to a shared future. The philosophical debates, the political fears, the cultural misunderstandings, all faded before the enormity of the task ahead. They were no longer isolated civilizations. They were part of something far greater, and humanity, with its calm resolve, its unwavering ethics, and its astonishing capacity for empathy, stood ready to lead the way into this terrifying, yet profoundly hopeful, new frontier. The silence of the deep void had ended, and in its place, a universal symphony had begun. A song of warning, of unity, and of the enduring, indomitable spirit of all sentient life.